It's Theory Thursdays. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender at Blender HD. If you're going to follow me on Twitter. And today I'm going to share with you the brutally honest truth about parlays. Everyone loves parlays, right? It seems like it. You go to any sports books, they're pushing you same game parlays, any game parlays, all the parlays, string 8 bets together. Bet $5, you could win God knows how much. Everyone loves it because of that. You could bet a little to win a lot. So people go, you go to your FanDuel sports books, right? You go, okay, there's some NBA games tonight. I'm going to take the over in this, right? I'm going to pair it together with the under in this, right? I got 2 of them together. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, definitely over in this game, right? I'm going to take the Celtics spread bet over here. I'm going to put them all together, right? The Jazz are playing right against the Hawks. I'm going to take the Hawks on the spread. I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take the Pelicans minus 4.5. I'm keep on going, right? Because I want to turn $10 into God knows how much, right? The Bucks are going to blow out the Hornets. I'm going to take that, right? Keep on going. Every game on the board, right? It's no fun unless you have every game on the board, right? So you take the over here because everyone loves overs. So you keep on going. Miami Heat, get on the road against the Trailblazers. I don't know. I'm going to take that over here. Next thing you know, you have a 10-leg parlay. It has the functional odds of plus 63,736. You're going to wager $10 to win $6,000, right? People love their parlays, right? People put these together and it's $1 in a dream type of bet, right? Even if you go down to two game parlays, 3-game parlays, right? Boost your odds just a little bit. I get the appeal. But you've heard tons of people say, don't bet parlays. Don't bet parlays. You're throwing your money away by betting parlays. And to be fair, for 99% of people out there, it's probably true. It's probably true that parlays are bad bets, but are they always bad bets, right? Because in order to get 10 games right on pretty, efficient, even lines is pretty tough. Imagine trying to guess a coin flip, right 10 times in a row. It's not going to happen that often. But when it does, obviously you get a big payday. But what is the reason why parlays could be bad? Why could parlays be good? Well, that's all comes down to understanding functionally what a parlay is, right? People think in terms of, well, I'm placing a minus 110 bet, right? If we take some of these off the board, right over here, take some of these minus 110 bets, right? Very common number that you see. Minus 110, minus 110, minus 110, minus 110. And all these minus 110s pay out plus 1228. So people go, okay, that all they see is minus 110. Minus 110 is the implied probability of 52.4%, right? And if this was an efficient line, essentially it's a coin flip, right? And the difference between the two lines, right, in this minus 110 over, minus 110 under, that's a 20-cent difference. And that's how you calculate the hold of a bet, the hold of a market. We've gone over that in previous videos about what is the hold of a bet. So the hold on a market like minus 110 is around 4.5 to 5%, right? Because what is the probability of minus 110 in implied odds? 52.4%. The other one is 52.4% also. You add them together, you get 104.8%. But there's only 100% of outcomes. So that extra 4.8% is what the sportsbook is holding. That's what the hold means. Now, how does that relate to parlays? Well, just in the way that minus 110 plus minus 110 plus minus 110 plus minus 110. So 52.4% times 52.4% times 52.4% times 52.4% gives you that payout, right? Gives you plus 1228, right? In the same way that you multiply the betting lines of the bets in your parlay to get that, that plus money payout, you could do the same with hold, right? So as you add more bets to a parlay, the original hold is 4.5 to 5%. Well, on 2, now you're adding even more to it, right? 3, you're adding even more to it. You're stacking up holds. And as you add more bets to your parlay, the hold of the bet gets larger and larger. Now you understand why sportsbooks want you to bet on parlays, because they hold more of your money. Now, how does that work functionally in like a little toy example? Right? Because a lot of people, get obfuscated by, sports games and over-unders and spreads and everything. Let's take a look at a coin flip. Okay? So we have heads and tails. And let's just say on this market, we all know a coin flip, a fair coin flip at least, 50%, right? Plus 100, minus 100, right? That's what it should be. But let's say there's a market on the coin flip. You'll see this for the Super Bowl, right? Let's say a book was offering minus 110 on both sides of a coin flip. Obviously, not a good bet, right? It should be plus 100. So minus 110 is 52.4%. Minus 110 on the other side is 52.4%. So what is the sportsbooks hold? Okay, well, there's only 100% worth of outcomes, 50% on heads, 50% on tails. But they're taking in 104.8%. So the functional hold was around 4.8%. So that's on a single bet. So on the coin flip at minus 110. Now, let's say you were going to bet on 2 coin flips. Okay, so we have this second example underneath here. So what are the outcomes of 2 coin flips? Okay, there's 4 of them. There's heads, 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 and then tails, tails, and then heads, and then tails and tails, right? So if you flip the coin twice, right, and you had 2 different markets, 2 different bets, and you were going to parlay the 2 coin flips together. And I'm going to bet on heads on the first one, tails on the second one. Or I'm going to bet on tails on the first one and heads on the second one. Now, if they were offering minus 110 odds on any coin flip, well, you multiply the 2 percentages together, and your payout would end up being 27.5% or plus 264. Now, it's a coin flip, so the true odds are plus 300. So this is a negative EV bet. But how much is it a negative EV bet? Well, that's a function of the hold. So how many outcomes are there? There are 4, and they're equally likely. Remember, this is a coin flip, so it's 50% shot. So 25% of the time comes up heads, heads. 25% heads, tails. 25% tails, heads. 25% tails, tails. That's 100% of the outcomes. But these parlays are paying you plus 264 about, right? Which is an implied probability of 27.5% on these 4 separate occurrences. So you do the same thing as you would do with the single coin flip. Add up all of these implied probabilities. 27.5% times 4 is 110%. But there's only 100% of outcomes. So the functional hold of this market, if you were to parlay minus 110 coin flips together, would be about 10%, like double the hold. Let's say you go to make it a 3-leg parlay, okay, on these coin flips at minus 110. There are 8 possible outcomes. Heads on all 3 rolls, tails on all 3 flips. Then you have heads, heads, tails. You got tails, heads, heads. You got tails, heads, tails. Heads, tails, heads. They're all listed right here. They're paying you minus 110 per leg. Okay? So multiply 52.4% times 52.4% times 52.4%, right? And you get a payout of plus 594 about. It should be plus 700, but it's plus 594. So obviously negative EV. But what's the hold of this parlay? Right? There's 8 outcomes. They're all equally likely because it is a coin flip. So plus 594 is 14.4%. There are 8 potential outcomes. They're all equally as likely. So you add up all 8 outcomes and that probability, and you get 115.2%. But there's only 100% worth of outcomes. So what is the hold functionally here? 15.2%. So you started out with just a simple coin flip. that if you just bet on a coin flip at minus 110, the hold on that market, if it was minus 110 on both sides, would be around 4 to 5%. You parlay 2 of those together, now the hold is around 10%. You parlay 3 of those together, now the hold's around 15%. You parlay 4 of those together, 5 of those, 6 of those, 7 of those, 10 of those, 20 of those. You see how the hold goes up and up and up and up. So this is the function of parlaying bets in markets that have positive holds. That's how sportsbooks make money. So when the odds are not in your favor, when you're parlaying negative EV bets together, in this case with a coin flip at minus 110, all you're doing when parlaying it is increasing the sportsbook's hold, increasing their edge over you. So most parlays are negative EV primarily because most bettors, they're typically betting without an edge to begin with, right? Whether it be, they're betting on a bet that has a theoretical, negative expectation of 2%, negative expectation of 5%, negative expectation of 10%. And not only are they betting those as singles, when you start adding them together in a parlay, you're just multiplying that effect over and over and over again. So when you're in a negative expectation, parlays are not your friend at all. Parlays are worse and worse bets. The more and more you add negative EV bets on top of it. That's the function of what a parlay is. That's how the hold is calculated. But is it always bad? Let's say you do have an edge, right? Let's say you find a market that actually is negative hold, right? Let's use a toy example that does not exist in the real world. Let's say in this scenario, a sportsbook is offering you a bet on a coin flip, but they're going to give you plus 110 on each side. Okay? Plus 110 on each side. You could bet on both sides and make money, right? You bet $100 on each side, you're gonna come out ahead, right? Because the actual probability is 50%, but they're paying you as if it's 47.6%. So in this market, let's say that bet is plus 110 on each side. You do the same thing in order to calculate hold, right? 47.6% plus 47.6% equals 95.2%, which means it is a negative hold, minus 4.8%. Which means you have an edge, right? This market has a negative hold, which means they're paying out 100% of the outcomes, but they're only keeping 95.2% of them, which means they're losing 4.8%, 4 to 5% on this market of every bet that they take. Now, once you amplify that with a parlay, so let's go back to the exact example that we had before. Look, the same exact, a 2-leg parlay of this coin flip at plus 110 on each side. You multiply 47.6% times 2, right? To get your parlay payout odds, and that would be plus 341 or so around, right? We're cutting off some decimal places. Now, the true odds are plus 300, right? It's coin flip twice, 25%. They're paying you plus 341, obviously, plus EV. That equals 22.7%. There are only 4 outcomes that are possible. Heads, 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 tails, tails, heads, and tails, tails. They're equally as likely. So 22.7 plus 22.7 plus 22.7 plus 22.7 is 90.8. They're paying 100% of the outcomes, but they're only taking in 90.8% of them, which means the negative hold is now 9.2% around. So if you had the opportunity to get a coin flip at plus 110 on each side, the hold actually gets worse for the sports book the more that you parlay them together. Let's go to the example of a 3-leg parlay of this coin flip at plus 110 on each side, right? So you multiply 47.6 times 47.6 times 47.6 to get the payout of this parlay at plus 826. Should be plus 700 on a fair coin flip, plus EV. And what does that equate to? An implied probability around 10.8%. And there are 8 equally possible outcomes. So you add them all up and you get 86.4%. But the sportsbook's paying out 100% of outcomes, which now makes the hold negative 13.6% or so. So if we kept on going here, you actually have a higher and higher edge the more that you stack plus EV bets on top of each other. Because that's a function of the hold of a sportsbook. Now, obviously, as you add more legs in the parlay, your chances of hitting, getting heads, or tails, or if you 8 in a row is low, but you're getting paid exponentially more for that than you should because you have an edge, because they're giving you plus 110 on a coin flip. So your variance will obviously be much higher because you're not gonna win as often, but your profitability goes up and up. So are parlays always bad bets? No, they're not always bad bets, but they're a function of the hold and how much edge that you have on each bet in relation to that hold. And for most people, right, you may be watching this going, oh, I have an edge on every bet. You don't. You don't have an edge on every bet, right? If you think, I know what I'm doing, right? I'm going to parlay these 5 things together. Like, in all likelihood, most of the bets that you make are going to be negative expectation. So that's why sportsbooks push people towards these parlays. Psychologically, they know that, people like turning $10 into $1,000 more than they're like turning $10 into $18. So they push that, and the byproduct is that their hold on those bets, assuming that they have good lines that have positive hold, are just going to make them more and more money because they're holding more and more of the market. In the instances where they're holding less than the market, when they're offering lines that have an arbitrage opportunity, they're giving up more and more money the more and more that you place them into parlays. So in certain scenarios, if you could go on FanDuel right now, and based on, your play-by-play simulations or, information that you have that maybe other people don't have, you have player props, right? You get projections, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go, and based on my projections, I'm going to, bet the over on Damian Lillard over here. I'm going to bet the over on Steph Curry over there, right? If these 2 bets have positive EV in relation to your player projections, parlaying together actually makes you more and more money because the hold goes less and less as you add more legs to it. Your variance goes up, right? We could talk about that a little bit more in another video. But understand that when someone says, hey, don't bet on parlays. No, you're stupid. Don't bet on parlays. That's the first thing you get rid of. Just make straight bets at minus 110. Boring, right? People think it's so boring, right? That's primarily what I do, right? In volume, right? But I'm not in it for the sexiness. I'm in it to make the money, right? But if a book that I still have edges on told me, hey, Jordan, you know what? We're not going to let you place straight bets anymore, right? We're going to let you only place 5-leg parlays. You could still have an edge, right? Your margin of error is going to be much much narrower, right? You have to make sure that the bets that you're making individually show a positive expectation, right? Based on, your handicapping or your projection model and so forth. But it's not impossible. Parlays in and of themselves aren't good nor bad. But understanding the function of hold when it comes to parlays will explain why most people lose more and more the more they play parlays. and why sharp bettors a lot of times may even use parlays as a cover, as a cover, because most sportsbooks view parlays as high holds. You're probably not going to beat us, right? So mixing in some parlays into your plus EV betting maybe a positive even for your account health. So if you have any questions about this, about parlays, about hold, and anything else, even for the mailbag, right? I do that on Mondays. Post them in the comments. I answer everything. Hit that like button if you learned something today. I'm primarily here helping beginners, intermediates, right? No fancy math, right? I don't think we did any fancy math today, right? No fancy math, right? I don't want to bring up, we need a graphing calculator for some of this stuff, but I just want to show step by step what some of these concepts are, instead of just going blindly by don't never bet parlays or always bet this or never do that. Understanding the fundamental concepts behind these things and then gearing your sports betting situationally day to day to take advantage of the sportsbook lines that go up on a day-to-day basis. So I hope you learned something. Hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.